Hello, everyone. This is Samantha, your host of Esthetician Edit. And today we have a very special guest. We have Jerri Hirst here. Just a little bit about Jerri before we introduce her. We'll ask her to introduce herself and then we'll dive in to the topic of how she built a successful med spa in California. So Jerri, she has a master's of science in nursing. She's a registered nurse and a public health nurse. She's the host of the Beauty Outlaw podcast. She's a licensed esthetician with over 30 years of experience in the world of aesthetics, and she's a soon to be nurse practitioner. She leads a thriving wellness and aesthetic spa in Orange County, California, offering advanced treatments like medical microneedling, PRF, PRP, peptide therapies, Botox, hydrofacials, basically all the good stuff. And she's backed by a powerhouse team of expert estheticians and registered nurses. So she's actually going to be speaking at our shows next year. She's going to be speaking in Philadelphia, Long Beach, and Fort Lauderdale, our new location. And she's going to be basically giving a class on how to break into the medical industry. So, how to go from nurse to how to go from esthetician to a nurse or to a nurse practitioner and really elevate your scope in practice. So if you don't mind introducing yourself and just giving us a little bit, if you want to just dive in already as to like your background and aesthetics and how you got started, that would be great.
Um, eh, how lengthy do you want me to be? Because I can go way back.
You can be as lengthy, we can be as lengthy as possible. If anything, I think the more the better.
The more the better. Okay.
Yeah.
So here we go. My journey. So my journey goes, I'm 55 years old. So my journey is very long. And I started back in 1987. And what's interesting about that time was I was graduated from high school and I was getting ready to go to college. And it was that summer in between. And my girlfriend said, "Why don't you go to manicuring school with me this summer?" And I said, "Manicuring school? I never even thought about the beauty industry at all." And she begged me. She goes, "Come on, it's only 300 hours. We can do it together." So I did it and I loved it. I was like, "This is fun. This is great." And so I started college and about 6 months into college, I decided, "You know what? I saw this." I grew up in a small town. So I saw
Hmm.
this little building, um, in our little city. It was next to an upholstery shop, and the guy had storage in there, and I went in there. I paid $180 a month. I convinced him to give me the space. I cleaned it up. I put an old desk in there and zhuzhed it up, made it super cute and fun. Painted the outside hot pink, and I started doing
Hmm.
nails. And
Okay.
I love nails. I love doing it, but my passion was little going in the direction of more beauty, like skincare. So I decided to
Hmm.
go to school and I went, and at the time they were not called estheticians. They were called cosmeticians. So I went to
Okay.
cosmetician school and I got my cosmetician license and I brought that into what was my manicuring shop. And I turned it into a beauty salon and I hired hairdressers and
Oh,
I built a
wow.
little room for me to do facials. And I fell in love with facials. And then about 21 years old, I I always had clear skin my whole life. And I broke out with severe cystic acne. It was that adult form cystic acne, and it was
Mhm.
pretty dramatic. It was not a mild case. It grew into a very severe case. At one time, I almost had close to 70 cysts on my face and my neck. It was
Oh,
a
wow.
very devastating time. Here I am in the beauty industry. I'm supposed to be a skincare facialist, and I am now plagued with this horrible disorder, disease, which it is, and I couldn't get myself out of it. I tried everything, and so I started diving into the medical side to see if they had any answers for me, and their only answer was what it is now,
Mhm.
antibiotics and, a little bit of Retin-A. That was it, or Accutane. That was the
Mhm.
next step. So, I decided to put time in on the side and read everything at the library. At the time, we didn't have the internet, so I'd go in when I wasn't working, and I learned and studied the skin and found a way, I thought, to help myself out, and I still couldn't. I did end up on Accutane, and that was a life-saving moment for me because it brought my confidence back because I
Yeah.
had lost so much of who I was. Um, I couldn't really look at people anymore. I'm gonna cry thinking about it, but I couldn't really look at anybody anymore. I thought if they saw me, they would and we made eye contact, that they would see my secret, which was my skin. And
Mhm.
I healed, and I was left with a lot of scarring, but at that point in time, I bought myself a little tattoo gun, and I started
Oh.
tattooing my face, my scars, and I noticed they got better. And I thought, I have a passion for helping people, getting people back their confidence when it comes to skin. So I began focusing on acne pretty heavily, and that is still my passion to this day. It drove me into the world of medicine, which sent me into first becoming an LVN, a licensed vocational nurse, which
Mhm.
unfortunately in California did not give me enough scope to really dive into the level I wanted. So I went on and got my registered nurse. Then I went on and got my bachelor's and then I master's program. Now I'm working on my prescriber's license. And I am so blessed that I had that experience with my skin because it's never
Mhm.
let me forget every patient has an individual journey, and every person that gets into this industry, every esthetician has a story. There's a reason why estheticians become estheticians. My heart lies with an esthetician. That's how I practice. I'm behind my chair every day, touching, feeling that patient and helping them with their skin because volumization and all this filler, it's all wonderful. Botox, I do it all day long. But if your skin isn't looking good, there's no way you can feel good about yourself. So,
Mhm.
an esthetician, I understand the ones that want to make that next level, that next step, and it's not easy. And
Mhm.
we're going to be speaking about that at your
Yeah.
convention. So I can hopefully help guide some people, help them with that decision because it's a big decision. It's a sacrifice.
Mhm.
So, but it's, do you want it or not? And do you need it?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing your story because I feel like it's something that we don't really talk about either because I when I became editor of the magazine, I struggled a lot with cystic hormonal acne as well. And there's such a pressure as an esthetician to like have the most perfect skin, right? And we're trying to figure it out for ourselves. And it's kind of like sometimes we get these lessons so that we can figure it out for ourselves so that we can best help our clients. So we're almost like gifted a little bit of a curse, but to solve it, so then we can be the best estheticians that, we can be. And then obviously, I'm sure your clients, you find like a lot of relatability in them when they come to you, right? And a lot of compassion for
Mhm.
them. So I think
Compassion.
that, yeah, compassion's huge. Um, so when did you actually become a nurse? Was it more recent or like, when was that?
Well, my first journey as a nurse was in the early 2000s. So
Okay.
then I went back because California, which I know everyone from all states is listening, California
Hmm.
keeps changing their scope of practice and what you're allowed to do in all of these aspects, whether you're a registered nurse, whether you have a master's in nursing, you're a nurse practitioner, with your independence. and working solo. As an esthetician in California, you have a lot of independence to touch the skin, to treat patients with facials, but you're also restricted a bit with what you're allowed to use to do that.
Hmm.
So that forces people into the nursing realm, and I understand that, but what I want them to remember is you're giving up some independence as an esthetician for another scope of practice that you will never be able to work independently with. You must
Hmm.
work under, at least in California, you must work under, or as any nurse, you have to have protocol and you have to work with and under a physician. So,
And how do you feel like, because I mean, I can imagine being an esthetician and then becoming a nurse. My mom, she actually just became a nurse practitioner and she is now diving into the world of aesthetics. So it's different because she has to learn everything about the skin. And there seems to be like a gap, right? Where
mm,
I think that we can better collaborate with each other and learn from each other. So, like, first one, like, how has being an esthetician helped your like procedures when it comes to like injectables and more advanced procedures that only nurses can do? Um, and two, like how do you think we could better bridge that gap? I know those are like kind of two big questions in one.
that's okay. But they're important questions because
Yeah.
there's such a line in the sand. And oh, I'm a nurse. I'm on this side. I'm an
Hmm.
esthetician, and I hate seeing that. There's nothing worse than me seeing that because it's just not true. I tell nurses all the time, especially on my podcast, you need to go to esthetician school. You need to see
Hmm.
if you have what it takes to actually treat someone's skin. Estheticians know a lot. Their heart and soul is behind what they do. They really are in it for skin. A lot of them get into it for the touch and feel of the skin. And every physician I talk to, or nurse practitioner, or nurse that has their own med spa, I tell them, get yourself a good esthetician in there. That's what you meet. That's your missing link. Most of these
Hmm.
spas, their missing link is a good esthetician. And bridging the gap, I'm really a proponent for a school or an educational system that does that. In Sweden, they actually have a nursing program that is just for aesthetics, but it teaches you the foundation of derm, skincare, facials. It starts with all those basics and walks you through the whole thing. And you graduate with your nursing, but only to practice in this world. And I think that that
Hmm.
would be, we have so many people interested, including estheticians and nurses, in this space of skincare. I think it's something that should be entertained. I think
Hmm.
it would help. And I also um, think that there's a lot of shade given to from the med spa world to the esthetician world. And I don't
Hmm.
like seeing that. I don't like
Yeah,
seeing
it's kind
that at
of
all.
like if we just like joined hands, we would take over, right?
Oh,
Because
for
yeah,
sure.
we both need each other. Is there any like cosmetic procedures that you would say affects the skin negatively? This is like a random question, but that just popped in my head as you were speaking.
Yes, there are lots. Actually, lasers.
Lasers.
Yeah, that over the 30 years, lasers came
Mhm.
on scene late 1990s, and they were more after, like, we call them the reds and the blues. So they would go after broken capillaries, and then we had the CO2 laser that would basically obliterate the skin, a
Mhm.
very deep burn to resurface. Now we've moved into these more subtle lasers that have different depths and fractionated and things like that. But the problem is, I'm not liking the outcome of the look of the skin as it ages when this has
Mhm.
been abused too early. It can actually mess with a little bit of the collagen production, and if it goes too deep and it's too hot, it can melt the fat in the skin. And so it actually can cause aging,
Harms. Yeah.
and that's when the filler comes in, right, to revolumize the skin back.
Mhm.
Now it it doesn't mean everyone is gonna have that outcome, but a good assessment of the patient and their skin and their overall skin health will make their
Mhm.
outcome better in the end. And so knowing to assess skin and relationally
Mhm.
skin and the history of people, like, do they have skin conditions? I rarely hear nurses ask these kinds of questions prior to a visit. It's more
Mhm.
about protocol. This is the laser we're using. This is the I'm turning the depth on. This is the consent. You're gonna have some downtime, fire away with
Mhm.
no pre pre-plan, prep. A good esthetician can prep the skin really well and help
Yeah.
guide them and do the post-treatment care. And then if you're esthetician that becomes a nurse, you're able to get there, you can perform all 3 of the procedures and handhold the patient from the beginning to the end.
Mhm.
I think that
Yeah, that's
answered
some
your question.
yeah, it did. I think that, like, it goes to show that, I mean, nurses can learn a lot from the way that estheticians, like, the way we approach our clients, that, like, everyone's different, you know? Not one person with acne, we're not gonna treat them the same as maybe someone else with acne, or they're not gonna have the same results all the time. What is something you feel like estheticians can learn from nurses?
Oh, wow. A lot. A lot when it comes to do with, um, the body system and staying in your space. So one thing nurses do really good
Mm.
that estheticians do not do, and listen to me, estheticians, you choose to get out of your scope. You do that a lot, and you can hurt somebody, you can cause an infection, viral infection, and one thing nurses do pretty well, majority of them, is they'll stay in their scope of practice. They're taught to do that. So they
Mhm.
follow protocol very well to and so when you become a nurse, you look back and you kinda go, "Oh, I was a little rogue. I wanted to do all the I didn't understand that there's a reason why I wasn't allowed to perform these procedures, because you
Mhm.
don't know assessment tools. You don't know scientific assessment tools and the reason why that procedure would not be right for that patient because of their medical history." And that's where a nurse, a good nurse, is really good. She has a spidey sense. She
Mhm.
knows the patient. She can identify body dysmorphia. She's most
Mhm.
likely trained and had some experience with that, especially in this industry. We see a lot of that. As an esthetician, you see a
Yeah.
lot of that, where you have to tell people, "No, you're on restriction. Like,
Mhm.
we're done." So I think you can learn a lot from nurses that way, to stay in your lane.
Okay, I like that a lot. Okay, so then how would you say in your med spa, like how, if I'm a client going to your medical spa, like how is your approach different from other medical spas, being that you are an esthetician also, and then you have, like, that deep background of treating the skin?
Yes. You mean kind of what sets us a little we feel what sets us apart and
Yeah.
helps us stand out?
Yeah.
Um, First of all, I only and I'm fortunate enough to only have experts work here. You are a
Mhm.
leader with what you do, and you are the best at what you do, and you work here, and we all have the same philosophy. One of the philosophies is innovation is exciting. Everybody is excited to learn that works here. We're a
Mhm.
team. We collaborate well. Collaboration is the second thing it's a must do. You must collaborate. If you don't know something, you need to find out about it so you can refer it to the right person, either in your clinic or outside your clinic. And most importantly is safety for me, because
Mhm.
as a med spa, we deal with lots of different devices and medications. It's a practice of medicine that you're
Mhm.
gifted to do under the guidance of a physician. And safety is key. So making sure the patient feels safe the minute they walk in the door. It's a
Mhm.
full 45-minute assessment of the patient. They talk to the physician also, and we come up with a protocol and plan. And I implement something called ultrasound technology at my clinic here for safety protocols, also for dissolving
Mhm.
filler and things like that. But making sure everybody is safe, stays in their lane, and follows the rules is also, you feel it when you walk in the door here. Everyone knows what they're
Mhm.
talking about. Everyone's a team player, and clients have successful outcomes. And mentorship is another thing we do here. I have several, girls that have I've got one starting nursing school in January. She's been with me for 3 years, and
Oh, wow.
she's starting in January, and I am so proud of her. Her journey was a long journey to get there. She did
Mhm.
prereqs. It took her The school she applied for wasn't an easy school to get into. So she worked really hard, got the top grades, took all the testing, and got accepted, and she starts in January. So this will be my 4th nurse that's
Oh,
come out
wow.
uh, out of my, and not all of them went into aesthetics. They ended up staying in nursing. Isn't that funny?
Oh, really? So th are
They
they,
ended up
like, working at hospitals and stuff
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
one
so
of them works,
sweet.
I think she's in labor delivery. She's got
Mhm.
2 children of her own. Her name's Riley, shout out to Riley.
Mhm.
She started at 16, and
Well,
her plan
nursing
was
it
Oh,
sorry, go
go ahead.
ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that nursing, just like the aesthetics world, is such a beautiful industry because you can really do so many different things in there. Like if you get bored doing one thing, you can jump it and into something else, right? Like for example, my mom, she got really tired of the urgent care and now she's doing aesthetics. Um, so yeah,
That seems
it's
to be the
very
story right now.
yeah,
I
they're
have
all
a
like
a
burnt
nurse
out.
now that works here that I don't wanna say mentoring because she's a team player, but she's a hos she works on sepsis in the hospital. She's a great nurse,
Mm,
would have never thought she would have dove into the world of injectables, and she has now started building her own, practice. She's still working
mhm,
in the hospital, but she's trying to
mhm,
do this on the side, and but what I love about her is because she's that had all that nursing experience, she's very careful and and
mhm.
and wants mentorship and wants to learn the right way, and she's not going, out there just doing things she shouldn't be doing that she hasn't learned, how to do correctly and safely.
Yeah. What would you say to estheticians who are interested in becoming nurses and who want to break into the medical industry? Like, what has it brought for you? How has it opened doors for you?
Well, it depends on your path. So,
Mhm,
like I explained my journey before, I did something I never thought I'd do, and then it grew into skin, and then it grew into nursing. Um, I think if an esthetician wants to go to esthetician school because she wants to broaden her scope, I think she should do it. I think she should do it. There is sacrifice involved,
mhm,
and there is an expense. So the financial expense is pretty large depending on how you do it. I believe,
mhm.
I'm gonna throw out some numbers in California. I can go off of
Okay.
California, but I believe that private schools, which are everywhere, which are
Mhm,
easier to get into, you're paying for that, about
mhm.
$175,000
Oh, wow.
in
That's a lot.
California. Mhm. Um,
Mhm,
is it worth it? Can be. It definitely
mhm,
can be, but I'm you're asking me to talk to working estheticians. So you're an esthetician, you wanna broaden your scope, you wanna go back, you're just dying to get into the world of injectables or lasers or just have more independence with what you can do with skin. Um, you first need to really my recommendation would be spend a day of shadowing and mentoring. Before you look at a $200,000 journey,
mhm.
with a sacrifice of time, right? You're the time you're gonna be a slave to that school. So your clientele will have to stay over here. You'll have to
Mhm.
work and you won't grow your business at that time because this will be the focus. My recommendation would be find someone that will allow you, and there are people out there. I know people. My facility is one of them. I have shadow days where you can come in and spend the day, have a working lunch, ask me questions, see what I do all day. And what I love most about those days is what people come out with them. Sometimes it's always, oh, I love just being where I'm at now. I mean, they see a different
Mhm.
side to what they do as an esthetician, and then others have a fire in their belly, and they're like, "That's it. I'm gonna do it." And those are expensive days. They're not cheap. They run about 1,000 to 2,000 depending on who you're shadowing. But that's a small amount to make the big investment of time in nursing, and also it can help you learn from that day no matter what. So wherever you go, you're gonna take
Yeah.
something away, a new treatment you see, um, an inspiring, uh, uh, like, I'm trying to think of the word, it left my mind, but you
Like a
y
client success, like a
yes,
testimonial or
yes.
something? Mhm.
You'll learn how to do a consultation and a question you never thought to ask,
Mhm.
or you're like, "Oh, I didn't know I could have those 2 things convert. I didn't know I could do this." And you leave so empowered, plus you leave with a connection with whoever is mentoring you that day. And,
Mhm.
we never leave anybody that has ever mentored here always has a space in our hearts around here. They're always can ask questions and drop us a text and ask us, "Do you think this school" because a lot of them start shopping for schools, right? And that can
Mhm.
be other nursing schools. They're not all accredited, so you need to make sure you're really looking into that. And we're gonna talk about this at the ICE show.
Yes.
Um,
We're gonna get, like, really deep
excited.
into it,
Yeah,
for
we're gonna
sure.
get really
I'm
deep into
excited.
it. And that way, because there's so much to it, right? Nobody knows where to start, and by the time
Mhm.
you're 6 months in, you're realizing, "Holy, this is I've spent all this time learning, trying to figure this out of how to get into nursing school," and then sometimes you can't get in. You can't pass the
Mhm.
tests to get in. It depends on the criteria of the state, but, it's exciting. I say if you've got a fire in your belly, go for it. It's a
Mhm.
sacrifice, it's a beautiful sacrifice, but also if y esthetician being an esthetician solely and just working on skin that way, you c I I have 3 estheticians that have their own businesses within JKH. They are
Uh-huh.
all successful. They are all high-level experts, successful. They didn't go to nursing school. They are busy, 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 and they are smart
Mhm.
and sharp and always getting educated, and, so I'm a if you're an esthetician and you just wanna stay at that scope, I think that's great too.
Mhm. Yeah, I kinda think, like, it kinda goes down to, like, if it keeps calling you. Like, I am the type of person that I need to think about things for at least a year.
Good
And
girl.
it'll be something that, like, because I also change my mind a lot, so I'm like, "I really wanna do this," and then I'll be like, "Never mind, I think I wanna do this." But if it's something that, like, you for example, you go to, like, a shadow day with Jerry, and then you can't stop thinking about it, and, like,
Mm,
no matter what, you're always talking about it, and it's just something that keeps calling you, then I think it's, like, a matter of, like, you don't wanna live in what if, right? You should just go for it. Um, but I think that's very true, that you can be successful just as an esthetician alone, and there's so many things that you can really niche down and become an expert in and be really, really successful. I also like how you talked about the shadow days because I've also done shadow days. Like I've shadowed a lot of estheticians, and even if you don't want to be a medical esthetician, like you learn so much just from how someone's running their business.
mhm.
Like a lot of estheticians, kind of stay in their box and they don't really know like what other businesses are doing and stuff. So even if you are a seasoned esthetician, I think it's good to even like every once in a while like shake it up and go and shadow someone else, maybe someone that you admire that's really successful, and see what are they doing that I can implement into my business to make it more successful or just easier for myself, right? Like more efficient. So I love shadow days, and I think that it's amazing that you offer that and that you've helped so many nurses and estheticians.
Nurses and estheticians, the one thing that nurses are is they're my friends that are nurses that are in aesthetics, they wanna know about skin. They are dying
Mhm,
to get their knowledge on skin. They're always asking me, "What about this? What about that?" And so they're the little jealous of, the esthetician, to tell you the truth. So, I think networking and collaborating in whatever
mhm,
space you stay, that's part of your shadow day too. When you do a shadow day, that is a network day. You're building relationships that can help you in the future. Estheticians are really good at one thing: isolating themselves. We're in that room with the door shut with our patient. It's my patient. They're
mhm,
very afraid to share information, give their secrets away. I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying a lot of
mhm.
them, and it's our nature because we're stuck, not stuck, but we're behind a door alone with a patient. And we're not like hairdressers where you're all next to each
Yeah,
other in a line working together. You don't see that in that world at all, but you do see it with estheticians. And I'm a big proponent of estheticians need community, they need to network, they need to team play, they need to share their ideas and concepts and collaborate. If there's something
mhm,
you don't do, you you are your patient's expert. The more you know, even though you don't offer it, and the more knowledge you have about a service and the pathway to get that patient that service, yeah, sure, you might lose a patient to someone else, but oh well, that's okay because you helped that patient or that client progress with what they really wanted, and they value you for that. So
mhm,
let's share together our information and give back and mentor like you do and shadow each
mhm.
other and give this grow this wonderful niche. And I don't I'm not I know I'm jumping around, but I love what you told me, Sam, about ICE and
Mhm,
what they want to do. They really want to take their platform of their convention with all the products and the
mhm,
sales portion, and they really wanna make this about education. Really give estheticians a place to go where they can learn and get informed and build community, and I
mhm.
loved when you guys said that. That's why I'm so excited to be part of your guys' convention this year. I just think you're gonna empower so many estheticians to be excited about this again, and, the more education we have, um, and the more community we have, the more successful every single person will be.
I definitely agree. I think that we can all learn from each other. And there's so many successful estheticians out there, and you're doing yourself a disservice if you're keeping yourself in a box and you're not getting out there and networking and collaborating. And I think that even those clients that come in and like let's say you refer them to someone else, I think that that builds trust between you and the client, and they probably will come back to you for whatever it is that you're an expert at, right? Because people can feel that energy. Like when your client can feel if you're being inauthentic or if you don't really know what you're doing, and they appreciate the honesty. So I love that you said that. Um, as a mentor, how do you feel being a mentor has helped you become a leader in this industry?
Oh, God, I hate calling myself a leader. Uh,
You are
I'm
a leader.
I'm
You're
j
a really good leader.
I'm a facilitator in a way. Y I'm a sponge.
Hmm.
So I'm learning probably too much. It's all the ADD, like, one minute I'm in a course on ultrasound, and the next minute I'm writing a paper for my nurse practitioner course, and the next minute I'm trying to figure out I'll see like, right now, have you heard of microcoring?
No.
Okay. Okay, estheticians,
I
you
need
heard
to
it
know
here.
I need to know about
You
that.
need to
What is
know.
that?
Okay, because knowledge is power. Your
Yes.
clients are gonna come to you. We'll talk about the up and coming. It's been here for a
Mhm.
couple years, but, I talk about it on my next podcast, but microcoring is a way they're saying it's like a facelift, but you go in and you remove about 8% of the skin on the face through these little bitty needles go in and they excise about 8% of the skin at one time,
Wow.
and then the skin recollagenates and tightens and is supposed to pull back together, a little
Mhm.
tighter, a little fresher, and they say anybody with any skin type can do this, not a big deal. This is a medical procedure, by the way.
Okay, I was just
Um,
gonna ask that. It's
no,
out of our scope.
it's definitely it's I would consider it out of my scope. It belongs
Okay.
in the hands. I mean, you think about that, right? You think about a little coring device that's going in and removing all the way to the dermis, pulling that
Uh-huh.
out, and
Wow.
waiting you're causing an injury is what you're doing,
Yeah.
so it can be a great thing, but I always am skeptical, especially when they say it's for any skin type,
Mhm.
right? Fitzpatrick
Mhm.
3, estheticians know more than ever, you any type of inflammation in a Fitzpatrick 3 or higher, you
Yeah.
can't tell me it's not gonna cause some hyperpigmentation when they heal.
Mhm.
So, this is the new up and coming, trend that's headed our way. It's owned by pharmaceutical company is Elicor. They've
Okay.
taken it on, and you guys will start hearing about it, and
Mhm.
you can start talking to your clients about it. When they ask you, "Have you heard
Wow.
of microcoring?" You're gonna know. You're gonna be like, "I
Uh-huh.
have heard of that. It's still early. We're still not
Mhm.
sure. We're gonna wait for the data. We'll let everybody
Uh-huh.
else out there mess up." Just like Daxxify. Daxxify is the new neuromodulator.
Mhm.
I let's just wait. Let's let others play around with it. Let's see how it goes, because if you mess up with Daxxify, it's gonna last a lot longer on somebody's forehead, and you don't wanna if you cause a droopy eye, gonna last a lot longer. So sometimes sticking with the old guys like Botox and Dysport is a good idea. So
Mhm.
we don't always
It's
have to
better
move.
safe.
Yes, safety. What did
Mhm.
I say at the beginning?
Yeah.
Make your
Better
patients
safe
feel
than
like
sorry.
they are in good hands because you practice safely and
Mhm.
responsibly, and you have their care and protection first and foremost, and you will be successful. They wanna feel that. They already feel that. You touch them, the minute they lay down, they're so vulnerable to us. They lay
Mhm.
down, we remove the veil right there. We see their raw skin. And that's hard to do. That's that's
It
that's
is.
that's an emotional unveiling to someone else that you just met, and we
Mhm.
have a lot of responsibility for their care and safety and keeping them safe first.
Well, please send me that podcast because we'll link it down below, and so our
Okay.
listeners can go listen to that, and so you can dive a bit deeper on that because it sounds super interesting. Um, Looking at the med spa and wellness industry in the next 10 years, like what do you predict is like where are we headed based on
Oh,
what you see?
oh, super easy. AI will take over your skin. They
Uh-huh.
will they will think they take over your skin. We will need to utilize that to us to leverage
Mhm.
and help us in our industry. So we can't be afraid of AI. It's here. We need to
Mhm.
leverage it. Um, but longevity, baby, regeneration, longevity, that's where it's at. It's here
Mhm.
now. I've been doing PRF, PRFM, PRP for 8 years. Um, exosomes, it polynucleotide, all more. We call them natural. Those aren't so natural. Exosomes aren't what we consider natural yet, but stem
Mhm.
cells and PRP. I do filler now where it is made out of your blood. So I spin
Mhm.
it, gel it down. You probably guys have all heard of this. And then it's a biofiller. And it's an awesome product. It doesn't last as long as normal filler, but it's natural, it breaks down naturally. So
Mhm.
longevity, hormones, peptides, this is the future. Um, being hormonally balanced,
That's so
um,
important because there's a
pain.
lot of hormone disruptors also out there, right? So,
Ugh, the
yeah.
biohacking right now that I hear all over the Internet's actually frightening, but longevity,
Mhm.
red light, light therapy,
Mhm.
firelight therapy, all this is here now,
Mhm.
and you have to fight for that information, by the way, because, um, there are bigger sources at bay that would prefer us use other things like medications, oral
Mhm.
medications, and, longevity is right there. It's outside, it's in the sunshine, it's in red light there.
Mhm.
What's great about estheticians is you guys have been a part of the LED and the light therapy a lot longer than the med spas have. We've
Uh-huh.
been using this stuff, we've been using ozone therapy, we've been doing all this stuff on the face, we've been doing galvanic currency. I mean, what we're doing and been doing for the last 35 years is what they're all trying to do now. They're finally getting into these things. So you guys are really the leaders. You have to look at this as you are the forward thinkers, and what's going to happen the next 5 or 10 years, you guys already know. Just dive in deeper, and
Mhm.
that's going to be pulling back off these procedures like filler and injectables,
Mhm.
and getting more into the hands-on.
Which I love. I think it's incredible just to see in just like the past 5 years how much we've advanced. And so I'm even like the next 10 years, I'm like a little bit like, okay, I can't even imagine what's going to come out in the future. But it's so amazing to see the two industries. I see them starting to blend together, really. And I hope that that continues to happen. And we
Oh, it
continue to
will. We'll
evolve.
make it
Yeah.
happen. It's up to
We
us,
have to
right?
make it
We
happen.
can't wait
Yeah.
for stuff. We wait for stuff. Like the nurses that wanna go to nursing school, stop, stop. If it's in your
hmm
gut, do a shadow day, confirm it, and go for it. That's all you gotta
hmm
do.
I
Don't
agree.
think about it a year, Sam.
No. And now I'm like, I need to go to you to get that filler that you're talking about.
Isn't that
Because I've
cool?
been a little bit scared of getting filler or doing any injectables. I haven't done anything. I've only really
You
done
should. Y
microneedling.
I like that. You when you're younger,
hmm
we're all so that skin, that tissue, you estheticians see everyone's skin. There's no reason to
hmm
volumize it or risk any, adverse reaction to somebody that already has beautifully healthy skin. There are so many other
hmm
things we can do. So, don't yeah, that's gonna change. People are not gonna be doing we're gonna have natural fillers. That's gonna be the next game changer.
What would you say is like your all-time favorite treatment that
Ugh.
you feel like let's say it was the only treatment that you could do, this would be the treatment that like that's it.
That I perform. I would say, I love
hmm
mesotherapy with PRFM. That's platelet-rich fibrin matrix. That's a whole 'nother course that I give. It's pretty incredible. You're actually getting about 2% stem cell out of that spin. So you take someone's blood. I think most the girls know what PRF is and PRFM
hmm
is, but I like to microneedle it in.
Ooh.
Um, and so I microneedle the face, and then I also add the PRFM liquid, and it swims right in, and the matrix holds it there for about 2 weeks. So they're getting revascularization to their skin, they're getting all those growth factors, and they're also getting the wound trauma from the microneedling. And then I
hmm
love to take a syringe of that PRF, and I mesotherapy, which is I cause these blubs, like 30 or 40
hmm
little blubs under their eyes, and it lightens and brightens and tightens those eyes, makes them look
Oh my
beautiful.
goodness.
It is the best treatment on the planet, and people that have done it for years in this clinic, you can
Uh-huh.
tell. They look great, and they are my poster people because people are like, they're 60, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm seeing Jerry for PRF. So PRF with microneedling and mesotherapy, I love that treatment.
Okay, good to know. We'll definitely link like your website, your Instagram down below so that everyone can go
So
see those
sweet. Thank you.
results and pictures for themselves and possibly go visit your clinic as well. I guess I want to end with like I love this question. If you could go back in time and tell your younger self one piece of advice, what would you say?
Stay in my lane.
Mm.
Stay in my lane. And I will share that portion of my journey at some point in time, but
Hmm.
I I I hound safety a lot now,
Hmm.
and I talked earlier about estheticians getting out of their scope of practice, get yourself in trouble.
Mm.
So, you gotta be careful. We can want things now and think we can do them, and we need to stay in our lane. Stay in your lane and do it correctly and do it safely. Um, don't try to, mm, I would just, yeah, stay in your lane. Your scope is your scope. Honor it, know it, and stay there. And if you want a bigger
I love
scope,
that.
get a bigger scope. Go to school for it. There's a reason
Yeah.
why there's a scope of practice.
I mean, it's the same thing with estheticians. Like, there's people practicing that don't have their aesthetics license, and it's like,
Mhm.
what the heck, right? So,
Yep.
yeah, we
And
need
when
that
you're an
education.
esthetician, we need that education, and unfortunately with estheticians too, they're, not their scope of you leave school and they don't really help you, you know? They
Hmm.
don't, follow you anymore. You're just kinda thrown out there, to think that your scope is what you want it to be, and it's really
Yeah.
not, or what the doctor said you could do. You can't listen to a doctor. By the way, you are not licensed to listen to a physician. He is not your medical director. He cannot be your medical director. This is where estheticians get themselves in trouble. So stay in your scope, do what
Hmm.
you're licensed to do, and if you wanna do more, then come
Mm.
to our course,
I
our
was
ICE
just
course,
thinking that.
and come out and or come spend a shadow day with me, or I'm hoping I'll have an online course that can help people guide them through their next step of being a nurse, if that's what they
That's
wanna do.
amazing. That's incredible. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge with us. If you guys want to hear more from Jerri, if you want to ask her very specific questions to maybe your journey, just get to meet her face to face. She is going to be speaking at the ICES shows. Again, we have one in Philadelphia, Long Beach, and Fort Lauderdale. So go ahead and visit our website. We'll put it down below and get your tickets. And
Get your
yeah.
tickets now. I love the
Yeah.
ice show. I've been going for years, you guys. I've been going for years. It's one of my
Hmm.
it is our go-to show for our
I
staff.
love
We
that.
have so much fun when we go to that show. So,
Thank you
go.
so
Get
much.
buy your
Yes.
tickets. And
Alrighty, guys.
check out, like and subscribe to their channel, to your
Yes.
guys' channel. Yeah.
Yes. And you have a podcast as well. And we'll put
Yeah.
that down below. The Beauty
Yeah.
Outlaws, which
The
I
Beauty
love the name,
Outlaw.
by the way.
And I'm
The Beauty
always looking
Outlaw.
for estheticians to be on my esthetician diaries. So,
Okay.
you can apply for that on my website, so to get on the
Love
show.
it.
So, all right,
All
Sam, thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
See you guys all at the show.